Hollywood's golden age dazzled with glamour and fame, but behind the scenes, many actresses faced a much darker reality. Those who dared to say no to inappropriate demands from powerful men often paid a steep price. Blacklisting by studios, losing career-defining roles, or disappearing from the spotlight altogether. In this video, we shine a light on 15 brave actresses who stood their ground. Despite immense pressure, they refused to compromise their integrity or dignity. Their stories reveal the hidden struggles behind the silver screen and serve as powerful reminders of resilience, courage, and the ongoing fight for respect in the entertainment industry. Join us as we delve into the powerful and often painful journeys of these courageous women, each of whom paid a heavy price to protect their dignity in a ruthless industry. What are your thoughts on their stories? Have you or someone you know faced similar challenges? Or do you believe in standing up for what's right no matter the cost? If so, drop a 1 in the comments. If you think more people need to hear this, comment 0 to keep the conversation alive. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to support us in sharing more important and inspiring stories like these. Rita Moreno arrived in Hollywood as a teenager in the early 1950s, quickly confronting the industry's darker realities. At just 19, she boldly resisted unwanted advances from Buddy Adler, the powerful head of production at 20th Century Fox, who had also tried to seduce Joan Collins. Moreno's firm refusal was a courageous stand, especially for a young woman of color navigating an era steeped in racial prejudice and discrimination. As a result, Fox relegated her to stereotypical supporting roles and ultimately chose not to renew her contract, despite her rising talent. Throughout the 1950s, Moreno faced an uphill battle to break free from these limiting roles and prove her exceptional abilities. It wasn't until Rita Moreno broke free from the restrictive studio system and landed her breakthrough role in West Side Story that she truly shined. In later interviews, she spoke openly about how many powerful men exploited young actresses, and how those who refused to comply often saw their careers stall or derail. Moreno's story shines a light on the systemic injustices faced by women of color, who had even fewer protections in Hollywood's harsh environment. Despite these obstacles, she triumphed, becoming one of the first Latina actresses to win an Oscar. But her journey was longer and more challenging because she bravely said no to predators from the very start of her career. Linda Darnell was a rising star at 20th Century Fox in the 1940s until she stood her ground against the persistent advances of studio mogul Darryl F. Zanuck. Known for his numerous extramarital affairs with actresses, Zanuck's attention toward Darnell grew increasingly aggressive as she matured. However, she firmly refused to submit to his demands or participate in the notorious casting couch practice. In retaliation, Zanuck began sabotaging her career. Studio records show she was removed from a film role simply because she rejected his advances. She lost the lead role in Plum Pudding and was relegated to minor parts that left her dissatisfied. By 1943, Darnell's once promising career was in serious decline. Fox suspended her and effectively placed her on an internal blacklist for refusing to comply with the studio's demands. The final blow came when she secretly married a cameraman, angering Zanuck, who saw it as putting her personal life above his control. He gradually stopped promoting her, pushed her into supporting roles, and ultimately the studio abandoned her while she was still very young. Although the official reasons given were age or weight, industry insiders knew it was Zanuck's revenge for Linda Darnell daring to stand up for her dignity. Her tragedy wasn't just the loss of fame. It was a calculated career sabotage meant to punish her courage. What do you think about Linda Darnell's story and the sacrifices she made? If you support speaking out for dignity and fighting injustice, drop a 1 in the comments. If you want to join the conversation and help promote fairness in Hollywood, type 0 to start the discussion. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next powerful stories. In the 1960s, model-turned-actress Tippi Hedren rose to fame as Alfred Hitchcock's latest discovery, starring in the iconic film The Birds, 1963. But behind the scenes, Hitchcock's artistic mentorship took a dark turn into obsession. Hedren revealed that the legendary director repeatedly harassed her, groping her in his office, making unwanted advances in his limousine, and escalating his aggression whenever she resisted. When she firmly pushed him away during one such attempt, Hitchcock's cold fury was unmistakable. With a chilling glare, he vowed, "I will ruin your career." Tragically, Hitchcock made good on his threat. After The Birds wrapped in 1964, he used Hedren's contract to effectively blackball her, keeping her under exclusive contract but refusing to offer her any roles. For more than 2 years, she was paid to do nothing, a cruel punishment for rejecting his advances. Only after the contract expired did Hedren slowly return to acting, though her career never fully recovered. Her courageous revelation years later shines a light on the harsh reality many faced. Standing up to powerful abusers often meant professional exile during Hollywood's studio era. Jean Arthur, a beloved star of the 1930s known for her bright voice and witty charm, suddenly stepped away from Hollywood at the peak of her career in the mid-1940s. The reason? To escape the predatory grip of Columbia Pictures' ruthless boss, Harry Cohn. As author Richard Given revealed, Arthur confided that during her contract with Columbia, Cohn often used secret back corridors to sneak into actresses' dressing rooms and assault them in shadowy hallways. Jean Arthur was so terrified of Harry Cohn's predatory behavior that she once considered carrying a gun to the studio, contemplating shooting him to protect herself and other actresses. Yet, despite her fear and anger, she couldn't bring herself to resort to violence. Instead, Arthur made the difficult choice to withdraw completely from the film industry rather than endure more abuse. By 1945, at just 45 years old, she left Hollywood, returning to the screen for only one final film many years later. Jean Arthur sacrificed millions in earnings and the chance for greater fame, while the public often saw her as simply reclusive or difficult. It wasn't until years later that colleagues spoke out about her moral courage, how she stood firm against Harry Cohn's advances, even though it meant giving up the career she loved. Her story speaks volumes. For some, the only way to break free from predators' control was to walk away from Hollywood entirely, leaving behind unmatched talent and a career cut tragically short, all simply for demanding respect. Louise Brooks, the silent film icon of the 1920s known for her signature bob and rebellious spirit, was one of the first actresses to openly expose Hollywood's notorious casting couch culture. While most remained silent, Brooks boldly wrote about how auditions and contracts were often exchanged for favors at private parties. She witnessed a young dancer accompany a British media mogul to his hotel room, and just days later, that dancer landed a contract with MGM. Refusing to take part in such exploitation, Brooks walked away from her Paramount contract in 1928 rather than compromise her dignity. Her fearless honesty and refusal to play along with studio executives quickly earned her a reputation as difficult. By 1930, Louise Brooks found herself blacklisted. No major Hollywood studio would hire her. Forced out of the American film industry, she turned to European cinema but eventually faded into obscurity. Hollywood journalist Hubert Keithley once said she was courageous but had stepped on the toes of giants. In her writings, Brooks warned that once producers saw independent women could become stars, they united within the star system to wield physical power and coerce actresses into submission. Brooks's career became one of the earliest casualties of this struggle. She sacrificed her livelihood to protect her dignity, standing as a powerful symbol of a woman ahead of her time. In In the 1960s, while many believed Hollywood's golden era was fading, European actress Senta Berger faced its darkest side firsthand. In 1965, during a meeting in a New York hotel suite, Fox mogul Daryl F. Zanuck, infamous for his history of abuses, shocked her by exposing himself beneath a silk robe. He then made a bizarre and outrageous demand that she sleep with him so he could somehow forgive the atrocities of Nazi Germany. Horrified and outraged, Berger immediately rejected him and left as quickly as she could. After that traumatic encounter, Senta Berger decided Hollywood was not the place for her. She soon returned to Europe, choosing to build her film career abroad rather than endure the pervasive exploitation she had witnessed. In later interviews, Berger confirmed the story and expressed disbelief that such abuses of power were still so rampant. Her choice meant giving up the chance to become a Hollywood star, a stark reminder that for many foreign actresses, the casting couch turned the American dream into a nightmare. Berger's ordeal, arriving at the tail end of Hollywood's golden age, revealed just how deeply entrenched and enduring the predatory culture had become, passed down through generations of studio executives long after their era was supposed to have ended. Some stars vanished entirely from the spotlight, and the first name on our list might surprise you. Maureen O'Hara, the beloved Irish actress known for classics like Miracle on 34th Street and The Quiet Man, was one of the earliest voices to speak out against sexual harassment in Hollywood, all the way back in 1945. At just 25, O'Hara courageously revealed that she had considered walking away from her career due to relentless, unwanted advances. But instead of support, she faced retaliation. Powerful producers and directors, angered by her refusal to submit, launched a cruel smear campaign, branding her as frigid in a desperate attempt to discredit and silence her. Maureen O'Hara was often unfairly labeled cold or unapproachable, called a stone statue lacking sex appeal, simply because she refused to be touched without consent. In retaliation, major studios spread vicious rumors, even questioning her femininity in an attempt to undermine her. But decades later, O'Hara remained steadfast in her convictions. "I would never kneel before the casting couch, and I know that cost me many roles," she said in a 2004 interview. Though she continued acting, O'Hara believed her refusal to compromise her dignity came at a steep price, missing out on countless opportunities during a time when harassment was widespread and rarely challenged. Even child stars weren't spared from the darker side of Hollywood. At just 12 years old, Shirley Temple had a disturbing encounter with legendary MGM producer Arthur Freed in 1940. During a meeting, Freed shockingly exposed himself to her. Temple, caught off guard and trying to defuse the situation with nervous laughter, recalled how Freed became enraged and stormed out of the room. In her autobiography, Temple revealed that Freed had a well-known reputation for making inappropriate advances, proving that even the youngest in the industry weren't safe from exploitation. Shocked and deeply disturbed, Temple stood her ground and firmly refused to comply. Shortly after, her contract with MGM was quietly not renewed. As she grew older, she struggled to transition into adult roles and eventually stepped away from Hollywood altogether. While many factors shaped her career path, it's clear that her refusal to be exploited played a significant part in its early end. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that during that era, no one, not even America's most beloved child star, was safe from the pervasive culture of harassment in the film industry. Before becoming a television icon on Dynasty, Joan Collins was a rising star in 1950s Hollywood. She was one of the few actresses who openly admitted to losing a major role because she refused to compromise her values. Collins was a top contender for the lead in Cleopatra. But during a meeting with Buddy Adler, then head of 20th Century Fox, she faced a chilling proposition. "You really want this role?" he asked, All you have to do is be nice to me. That comment was nothing more than a thinly veiled demand for a sexual favor. Stunned and shaken, Joan Collins broke down in tears and walked out of the office. Her refusal to be nice cost her what could have been the biggest role of her career. Marilyn Monroe had once warned her to be careful. Hollywood was full of predators waiting to exploit young actresses. Collins' decision to stand her ground meant sacrificing a major opportunity, but she later spoke out to ensure future generations understood the silent injustices women faced behind the glamour of the silver screen. Judy Garland was one of MGM's brightest stars throughout the 1930s and 1940s. But behind the studio lights and adoring crowds, she faced relentless harassment, starting in her teenage years. According to Gerald Clark's biography of Garland, powerful figures at MGM frequently made inappropriate and unwanted advances. The most infamous was studio head Louis B. Mayer, who often told Judy she sang from the heart, all while placing his hand firmly on her chest during conversations. These moments, dismissed or hidden at the time, were deeply troubling signs of the abuse she silently endured in an industry that offered her no protection. At just 16 years old, Garland felt trapped and powerless, forced to endure humiliation and abuse in silence. The emotional toll, combined with relentless pressure from the studio, which provided drugs to control her weight and boost her energy, had severe consequences for her health. Years later, after finding her own voice, Garland confronted Louis B. Mayer about his behavior, angering the powerful mogul. Shortly after that confrontation, in 1950, MGM officially terminated her contract, citing unreliability as the reason, a harsh dismissal that ignored the deeper struggles she endured. At that point, the once obedient star began pushing back against the studio's control. While she wasn't officially blacklisted, Garland's outspoken defiance and refusal to tolerate abuse coincided with the steady decline of her MGM career. Her story highlights how Hollywood's unequal power dynamics allowed moguls like Mayer to make or break a star's future simply because she had the courage to say no. Rita Hayworth, Hollywood's iconic love goddess and Columbia Pictures' biggest star of the 1940s, was not immune to the iron grip of studio boss Harry Cohn, infamous for his ruthless control and casting couch abuses. According to her biography, Cohn developed an unhealthy obsession with Hayworth. Early in her career, her first husband, whom Orson Welles once called a pimp, arranged a meeting with Cohn, hoping to secure a major breakthrough for her in the industry. On a private yacht, Harry Cohn made it clear he expected sexual favors from Rita Hayworth, but she stood her ground, firmly refusing to cross that line. Hayworth's defiance left a lasting impression. Cohn never forgot her rejection and held a deep grudge against her from that moment forward. Throughout her contract, he relentlessly bullied and punished her, even invading her personal life as an act of spite and control. Under relentless pressure, Rita Hayworth was eventually forced to leave Hollywood. She once lamented that while studio bosses adored the glamorous characters she played on screen, they couldn't accept a real woman who refused to be exploited behind the scenes. Hayworth's story exposes a harsh truth. No amount of fame or popularity could protect a woman from punishment if she dared to challenge the powerful Hollywood moguls. Kim Novak was one of Columbia Pictures' last major stars groomed under Harry Cohn's strict reign in the 1950s, positioned to be the next Rita Hayworth. Cohn controlled every detail of Novak's image, from her name and hairstyle to her weight, and demanded total obedience. Yet Novak quietly resisted. She firmly refused one of Cohn's earliest demands, determined to maintain her own identity. Crucially, She also rejected the studio head's personal advances. According to Vanity Fair, Kim Novak skillfully avoided the casting couch sessions that Harry Cohn frequently orchestrated. As Hollywood's most notorious power broker, Cohn couldn't ignore her defiance. When Novak began dating singer Sammy Davis Jr. in 1957, a relationship highly controversial at the time due to racial prejudice, Cohn was furious. He saw it as both a personal insult and a threat to Novak's marketability. Without hesitation, Cohn resorted to extreme tactics, hiring private detectives to follow her, and even calling on mafia contacts to intimidate Davis into ending the relationship. Novak's refusal to submit subjected her to constant surveillance and ongoing threats. Despite this relentless pressure, she continued to build a successful career, starring in iconic films like Vertigo. However, the toll eventually led her to leave Hollywood in the 1960s while still at the peak of her fame. Novak's story stands as a rare example of a star who resisted exploitation and maintained her career, though the price she paid was undeniably high. In the 1940s, Ginger Rogers was an Oscar-winning actress and the celebrated dance partner of Fred Astaire. Yet, even her fame and accolades couldn't protect her from Hollywood's notorious casting couch culture. Rogers later revealed that during a meeting at Columbia Pictures, studio head Harry Cohn aggressively pursued her, chasing her around his desk with unwelcome advances. Already married at the time, Rogers firmly refused and bluntly said, "I don't want to discuss this," before quickly leaving to avoid further confrontation. Her courageous rejection infuriated Cohn, and as a result, her roles at Columbia began to dwindle. Feeling unsafe and unsupported, Rogers ultimately chose to leave the studio. Although Ginger Rogers found new opportunities elsewhere, the painful memories of that encounter stayed with her. Publicly, she was cautious about discussing the incident, fearing backlash and retaliation. It wasn't until many years later that she openly confirmed how Harry Cohn had cornered and harassed her in his office, and how she narrowly escaped his advances. Unfortunately, Rogers' experience was far from unique. Many actresses knew that resisting such demands often meant being labeled difficult and risking their careers. While Rogers had enough clout to keep working, her unwavering principles forced her to avoid an entire studio, choosing safety and integrity over compromise in the face of a powerful predator. Marilyn Monroe, the ultimate beauty icon of the late 1950s, quietly resisted Hollywood's predatory culture. She famously described the industry as a crowded brothel, openly acknowledging the harsh realities many young starlets faced to land roles. Biographer Anthony Summers revealed that Monroe even joked about how much time she spent on her knees in front of studio bosses early in her career. Yet rather than submitting, Monroe often walked away from interviews or situations that made her uncomfortable, showing a quiet but powerful defiance, as noted by author Michelle Morgan. In the mid-1950s, Marilyn Monroe courageously spoke out in interviews about being harassed by an unnamed studio executive, urging others to break their silence rather than endure abuse alone. Author Michelle Morgan notes that Monroe refused to see herself as a victim, and her candor made her one of the rare actresses of her era to openly challenge the casting couch culture. Though Monroe eventually rose to superstardom, she believed that standing her ground had delayed her early career breakthrough. As Marilyn once confided to a friend, "In Hollywood, if you don't go along, there are 25 other girls who will." Her courage to speak out against Hollywood's predators was incredibly rare for that era, shining a light on the silent suffering of countless lesser-known actresses. What do you think about Marilyn Monroe's bravery in standing up to the casting couch culture of the 1950s? If you support her courage, drop a 1 in the comments. If this story is new to you, comment 0 so I know. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more eye-opening videos.